Welcome to the On the Hill podcast. I am Pastor Victor.
And I'm Pastor Danny.
And this is a podcast where we cover the divine dailies, turning daily activities into divine opportunities of learning. And today we talk about road trips.
Yes.
And you just went on one.
I just went on a road trip. Drove all the way to L.A.
All the way from LA, and you put how many hours in?
We put 15 hours.
15 hours. And I think there's some fascinating parallels between going on a road trip and a Christian experience. On this episode, we unpack what it means to have the right attitude, how we feel pre, during, and after a road trip. So we learned a lot.
I did.
And so enjoy this episode on road trips. And we're off.
And we are off again.
On the Hill podcast.
Yes, on the hill.
You know, I know something.
You know something?
I do know something.
Okay, tell me. What do you know?
You know, my wife wants to go somewhere.
Okay.
She wants to go and she wants to visit and she wants to experience something new.
Okay.
But I know what traveling entails. Kids. Family.
Yes.
Anxiety.
Why?
I don't know. There's something about travel that just gets, my dad, when we were growing up, he had a temper, like all dads. But the two times I saw him stress the most, building furniture,
okay,
and going and traveling somewhere.
Really?
Yes. Those are the two times where I saw him the most activated, animated, anxious, worryful.
Right.
And I've noticed these past couple of years that when it comes to travel, it brings a tremendous amount of anxiety.
I hear you. There's a lot of stress when you travel. You're out of your environment. You're sleeping somewhere else.
Out of routine.
A little unknown. You're lost, not sure. I get all of that. And you know what? When you're traveling, it's stressful. But I really love road trips. I get happy.
You get happy?
Yeah, I get happy. The drive part of it. That's weird? I mean...
That's a little... Depends. Unpack.
Okay, if I'm going to Wyoming, I know we're going to Yellowstone or Park, But the road trip there to Wyoming, I get excited. I know I look at the freeways. I know how long it's gonna be. I get to plan it out. I like road trips. I don't know why I like road trips so much, but road trips are enjoyable to me. There's some peace I get just being in the car. Nothing else matters really. For 6, 8, 10 hours. I just drove to LA last weekend. And it's a 15-hour drive. And see, your butt gets a little sore. I get that. But I just love just driving on the road. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just kind of going out into space and just kind of reflecting. My daughter came with me, a conversation with my daughter. We didn't talk the whole time, but just conversations had.
You and her?
Yeah, me and her. And a lot of junk food. I love that aspect too. This is one time where I could say, this is my supplies, for junk food.
Right.
So I enjoy that aspect of it. Now, the cost aspect I don't like, filling up in gas and whatnot. And the stress of, is there a cop around the corner because I'm going right in the borderline of speed limit to maybe going too fast. There's a little stress there. But outside of that, I really enjoy road trips. I mean, I did a cross-country one a couple years ago.
From where to where?
From here to Tennessee.
How'd that go?
Great. I enjoyed it.
That's 2 full days or 3?
3 days.
3 days.
Yeah. Audio book, but I don't know what it is. I guess the two factors. I'm seeing nature. I can see just kind of how you see the world differently when you're traveling, and also just kind of a time to just kind of, I can't email when I'm driving. I can't. I'm not answering phone. Well, I'm not really. Yeah, I'm out. I'm not answering phones. It's an emergency. I guess in a way I'm just enjoying the drive.
Yeah, I think there's this thing, there's these experiences that put us in a very present state.
Yeah.
Not future, not past, just in the moment. Driving. One for me is, watching a movie, going to the movie theater. That's another one where you sit and it's very intentional. You're just there. You're not thinking about anything else. And I think road trips do that for all of us. And for some, we struggle with it more than others. Longest drive I've ever done was from Wisconsin to Oregon.
When you moved out here?
When I moved out here. Then I did it again with a friend who moved out here as well.
Was that different with a friend than a family?
Totally different. Totally different, right? Because the whole... As a father, you're in sort of protection mode.
Right.
We got to get done. Is everyone safe? Is everyone good? Bathroom breaks are frequent, right? You're there. When I drove it with a friend, it was laid back.
Music going.
It's a real fascinating thing. I drove here with my kids, and we came with everything we owned in the van.
Oh, okay. Moving van.
Not like a U-Haul, like a van.
I know. You're in there all
stuffed, and I created these little caverns for them. There was stuff in and around them, but where they were, there was enough space. I never got asked one time in a 30-hour drive, are we there yet?
Yeah.
Never got asked.
The kids were like enjoying it too.
Yeah. And it got me thinking when I was a child, I couldn't stand being in the car. I was the are we there yet?
The
right?
bored one.
Yes. Just could not stand staring out of the window.
I hear you. I think I was there too. When I was a kid, I had so many other things I wanted to do.
Right.
I was so uncomfortable in my space.
Right.
That I'm so used to playing something, doing something, running around. I had a hard time being in my space. I guess now I'm older. I enjoy being in my space. I enjoy that time. That's interesting how I've learned to enjoy my space rather than wanting something outside.
Right.
Huh.
Yeah. And for me, we did this drive and we ended the drive. Michelle, my wife and I, looked at each other and we just I don't think the kids ever asked us once, are we there yet? And it just got me thinking, what is it about car rides that either you enjoy them or you don't?
There was a time when I was younger, I really disliked car rides because, not all the time, but when there was tension. Like, if someone had an argument, if my mom was mad, oh man, I really disliked car rides because there was no escaping it. And I think my mom actually liked it because we couldn't run away from it.
Right.
She was mad. She wanted to get something out.
And it was going to come out.
And she used car rides
to get it out.
Well, yeah, for that purpose. There's a lot of times those car rides were these out moments, and all the kids knew. So when we hear we're going for a ride, oh no, there's no escaping. I can't run to my room.
Right.
I can't avoid her.
Right.
I have to listen to this.
Right.
And so some of that, and I guess the car ride forces us to deal with
stuff,
and I guess it could be good or bad, right?
Right.
Or not bad necessarily, or difficult.
Yeah.
And I guess in my own family, it could happen too. When we got a lot of tension out.
Yeah.
On car ride, and there's a lot of quiet times where we're just totally mad at each other.
Right.
And
right.
We can't escape.
Right.
We're stuck in a car.
That's interesting. I think that the church resembles a car ride.
We're in it together.
We're in it together.
Uh-huh.
We're in this space.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes uncomfortable. It's sometimes really comfortable, and you can take a nap.
Yes.
But we're in this space. We're doing it together. And there's these subset of emotions that come with going on a road trip, right? You have the pre, the during, and the after.
Right.
The pre is often anxiety, worry, excitement, nervous. I think that's a big one.
Right.
A lot of nervousness, a lot of nervous
Unsure.
energy. Yeah.
You've never been on the road before.
Right.
You know, yeah.
Is your car gonna make it? Is the flat tire? Flat tire happens. Are we there? So there's that. There's the middle where you're dealing with the friction, you're dealing with the conversations, the music. You're trying to distract yourself. You're waiting your destination, and then there's the post, the relief. The
made it safe.
The
Praise
release.
the Lord, because not always you make it all the time safe.
Right.
There's an accident.
Right. And you're stuck in traffic. You're late.
Something happens.
And I feel like that really resembles the Christian experience. You know, when we start this Christian journey, there's a lot of nervousness. There's
nervousness. You're not sure.
Yeah.
But hope.
Of course.
Like what you think will happen.
Definitely.
Where you're going.
Right.
Right. But then the road trip begins.
You get in the car.
You get in the car. And that's a really good perspective. I mean, getting into a church is like that. Getting into a road trip. This is the vehicle that you have chosen to, because I fully believe this. You don't get to a destination without getting into a vehicle.
Right.
You don't. People think, well, I'm gonna find my own God, and I think that's theologically incorrect. I don't believe that Christianity is about individual marker or individual road trip. I believe Christianity must be done in fellowship.
Yeah.
You know, the whole thing about God is in relationship. You know, I think people who think, well, it's something I could do, something I can grow. No, you're missing the point. God is relationship.
God is community.
Yes. And then the church is an extension of that. And so anyone who wants to grow in Christ is to be in this community. So church is vital. It is what Christianity is. So in that respects, I think a lot of people need to understand this is the vehicle that God has given you. And I guess we are blessed to have our Hillsboro community, this church, to be a vehicle because, I like you guys.
Right.
You know, and I'd imagine if I didn't like you, man.
This car ride would be a little different.
Oh, man.
But I think you're going to be in car rides as well that you don't enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
You ever been on a bus trip?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. When there's 40 people.
Right.
You can kind of choose who you want to sit next to.
Right.
You don't have to sit next to the guy
you don't want to sit next to, right?
But you're all together.
Right. And you hear the baby whining, and you hear the old person on the phone, right? I think this really parallels very nicely, you know, because car rides bring the same exact elements to doing this Christian life and trying to get to our final destination, which is the second coming. And there's going to be a lot of pee breaks. There's going to be a lot of, we're in a traffic jam. You know, we can't go anywhere. There's going to be tension. There's going to be friction. There's going to be happy moments.
I like what you said there. We can't go anywhere. The first real attachment, well, besides family, of course, of my choosing is marriage. You know, I think marriage to me tells me I can't go anywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
This is my wife. I can't. I mean, if we have any problems or anything, this has to be fixed. You know what I'm saying? It forces you, like, this is marriage. And I think the world teaches you always have an out. And I think the whole point of marriage is saying you don't have an out. That's the whole point of marriage. You don't have an out. You got to make this work.
Right.
You got to figure this out. And that's what marriage should have. Well, God intended. You're together. You're messed up. You have issues. You're married. Figure it out. Take the bumps. Take the licks. Make mistakes, but work it out. And I like that with the same thing with this road trip. We got to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, and if we have problems with each other or issues ourselves, you can't jump. Well, you actually could. I guess you could if you really wanted to.
You can get in a different car.
Right. But if this is the car ride and this is the vehicle that we're going, we're here to work it out.
We are. And the thing is, we always think that a different car ride is more enjoyable.
Isn't that fascinating? There are people like that. Always looking for the other car to jump into.
You know, when I was a kid, the only thing that I did enjoy when I would go on a road trip is looking at the other drivers and the other cars.
Okay.
And what was happening in their car.
You were imagining what was happening?
Yeah.
Conversation
Yeah. So if there's someone sort of lip singing and nodding their head, I'm trying to figure out the song. If there's kids playing in the background, you know, I'm trying to figure it out.
Were you the slow car or the fast car?
Huh?
Were you always the slow car or the fast car?
The slow car.
So you were the car always people passing.
Yeah.
So you're just like, okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, totally. And the other, my favorite thing to do was, you know, when you're driving and then another car is going at the exact same pace as you. Well, there was this big wave of, when I was growing up, the DVD screens.
Yes.
On the headrest. And it'd be so fun to see what movie they're watching while I'm in the car, kind of going the same speed. But see, we think going in that car is better for us. We always look at that car and we're like, I think I'd be better off if I was there. I think I'd be better off with that family, with that car, going faster than I am. And there's never any acceptance. This is where I'm at, and this is okay.
You know, that kind of rings true of the 10th commandment. You know, thou shalt not covet. And God put that. That's the most interesting commandment. Everything's don't do this, obey this, remember this, right? 10th is like, don't covet.
Totally.
Be happy with where you're at and what you have, because you can just make your life miserable.
Totally.
And this car ride we are doing, this trip we're doing with our church members, yeah, we could always be thinking, I wonder if the grass is green on the other side, and people jumping up, but this is where we're at, you know? And I always find value of saying, this is where we're at. Let's make it work.
I think there's I love the point you're making, and ultimately what you're unpacking here is contentment. And there's nothing that makes a road trip more fun than being content with the speed you're going, where you're going, the car ride you're in. And when my kids are in the back seat and we do a 30-hour drive and they don't say, are we there yet? It's not a testament. Sure, maybe we had the right toys and the right systems. Sure. But it speaks to their contentment with the journey. And I think that's a really beautiful element to our Christian road trip. Are we content? Are we okay being in a Camry not going faster than the speed limit?
I remember when I was younger in college, I lived about 20 miles probably from my college. And I remember it's always traffic. I go to school in the morning and then come home. I remember I would get upset. Like, oh man, traffic again. And like what's wrong with this car?
Totally.
And I go home, I'm exhausted. Not only did I fight traffic, I'm fighting this thing. And one day I just said, you know what? I'm stuck. There's no way around it. I mean, I got out of school at 5. I'm stuck. It's traffic. And this little switch went on in me. I said, you know what? I'm just going to be here. I'm not going to let whatever get to me. And that really helped me. I just it brought it down, you know? Because I can't control what's out there. You know, I can't. But I can control what's in here, in my car.
Right.
Turn some classical music or book on, just kind of... And it helped. I'll get home eventually.
Right.
But I just kind of sit in the car and enjoy my road trip because I'm anyway. And I think for me and church-wise or life-wise, I can't always control the world around us.
You can't.
Right? But I can control me.
I can't control what's in the vehicle.
Right. So I think helps me. I think road trip helps me understand, like, this is what I got. And I got to make the best of it. I'm in no rush. I'm going to get there.
Why is it so hard to be content? Why is that 10th commandment there? Why is it that we're always seeking something that we don't have, no matter how good we have it? And that goes across the board, whether it's finances or power or influence or relationship. We're always seeking something more. I mean, Eve was curious of the other side. Right? She was seeking something more. There wasn't a natural, general contentment. And in fact, to be honest with you, the serpent, what it's riling up is discontent.
Mm-hmm.
And he sowed the seed of discontentment.
Mm-hmm.
We're at church, we're in this road trip, and it's either we're not going fast enough, or the driver in the front seat's not good enough, or the music isn't good enough, or it's too cold, or it's too hot, or the seat is uncomfortable.
That's a hard church.
The hard church.
That's a hard ride.
It's a harsh ride.
Everyone thinking
it's a miserable ride.
Was never good enough.
Right.
But if we could have two different attitudes, right? The same car rides.
Two totally different perspectives.
Yeah, because my son or my daughter, if they're having a whatever, and they could have a miserable 4 hour. I mean,
right.
It's interesting. We're the same car trip. They're mad, angry, whatever.
Right.
For me, I'm just humming along, and
right.
But it had nothing to do with the trip.
Right.
But it was the attitude in the trip.
Right.
Or the coveting, or we're here, and the attitude. Maybe that's it. Maybe the 10th commandment is about attitude. Let's have the right attitude. But that makes all. I mean, come on, that makes all the difference in the world.
Totally.
All the difference in the world. We're all going on this trip. Every single one of us is on this trip.
We're on a road trip.
Everyone.
This is it.
This is it. Everybody. But the attitude is everything.
Everything.
Everything. From a great trip, feeling like, wow, we made it, to a torture fest.
Yeah, totally. When I go to Portland, I'm the one driving my wife, and there's been times where I was like, man, that was a rough drive.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I had a great time. It's a 40-minute drive. Right? And I think it speaks to your point where we could be in the same car at the same time, going to the same place. And we could have two totally different experiences. And it has nothing to do with anything external, anything in the car. It's got everything to do with you.
Yeah. And that's what God says. Be at peace. Take a deep breath. Don't let the outwards get to you.
Right. Fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, right?
It all makes sense. People think, well, these are the things, the attributes, all those attributes are for this trip. They're the games or the soda pop. Whatever. They're the things that make the
trip worth doing, enjoyable.
Yeah.
They bring the trip together.
Yes. Me, my wife, I'm logistical. I got the plan. Where we're going to stop. How far we're going to drive. What hotel we're going to stay at. And logistical. I'll get you there. But my wife, she gets there in style. It kind of bothered me, though. Because I'm ready to go. And she'll just be in the house. Like, what are you doing? And she'll spend extra 15 minutes just looking around the house like, well, we need this. You might get cold blanket this. We're going to get this kind of food this and extra water. I'm like, now you may be late. I'm thinking we're late. Right? But for her, like, no, all these things will help us. And I'm like, whatever. But,
right.
Down the trip, like,
oh, yeah, that snack was perfect.
Yeah, she brought us oranges, last minute she grabbed some oranges. And at the moment, I was like,
right.
Thanks.
Right.
This
is perfect.
I wouldn't have thought about it, but she did.
Right.
So I was thinking just getting there, but she made it a good trip,
No, I made the trip twice. The same trip, same route, same... And with family, with a friend. Both enjoyable. But my friend had never driven more than 10 hours anywhere.
Oh.
Right? So the first day we put in 10 hours.
Uh-huh.
And the second day we put in 19 hours.
Oh, wow. Okay, heavy
Right?
one.
So
Heavy
we
day.
just drove until we couldn't drive anymore. And there's something to be said about company.
Mm.
There's something to be said about not doing it alone.
Mm-hmm.
There's something to be said about bouncing something off of someone, or it being silent and you're just enjoying it, each other's space. I wouldn't want to do that. I mean, I could.
I could
Do it. Yeah, I could do it.
It's not fun.
It's not the same.
No. It's all I want to get there as soon as possible.
Right. You're just going.
No.
You're just going.
Yeah.
But there's something to be said about doing this road trip together, in unity, in oneness. Even if you have a bad attitude, I'd rather almost you be with me together than me be alone. And I think there's a beauty, we're doing this drive and we're about after the first day. And he's like, I was really terrified. And I said, yeah, it's I get it. You just don't know. And he goes, I wouldn't. He says, I'm telling you the truth. I wouldn't have done this alone. It's too daunting. It's too overwhelming. It's too much, he says.
My daughter and I, we got to the end of our trip. 2 days, 15 hours. We didn't do much. We didn't talk much. We talked, but I'll tell you something. We bonded,
Mm-hmm.
We changed. Just 2 days, we bonded. And I'm like, to me, that's the most exciting part about the trip. People are like, oh, you're taking your daughter down to LA? Yeah, no, yeah, I am, but it's just me and her for 2 days, and I cherish that. She was knocked out, sleeping, but we stopped, had meals together, ate in the car, we had a little chit chat. But end of the two trip, we're like, I really enjoyed that. I did, and it was a good road trip. I'm tired, but it's a good road trip.
Yeah, it's. I think you're right. There's this when you make it, when you're done. Even if you had a bad moment, awkward moments, whatever happened on the road trip, it's beyond accomplishment. It's beyond that. It's beyond just getting there. It's satisfaction.
There's something has to be said that when you share the same space, something happens.
Yeah.
When people share the same space, something magical happens. I can't explain it.
Connection. Divine connection. Love.
Yeah, there's something more, There's something to sharing space.
Yeah. And there's something to going through something together and finishing it together. Right? Like, I can imagine that all these different churches, all these different cars, we're all headed to the same place. We're all going to heaven. We're all waiting Jesus' return. But you can't tell me that in heaven, when I see a church member, I get to say, we were in the same car. We did that. God led us. He was the driver. He got us here on time. But I get to look at a church member. I get to look at you and say, we did that. We were in the car together.
And I love it.
Yeah.
This car ride's only 70, 80 years.
Right.
And I'm grateful that whatever years here at Hillsborough, I got to share with this car, with these people.
Right.
And I'm ever thankful.
Right.
Blessed.
Yeah.
Road trips. I want to do more.
I'll pass. I enjoy plane rides more than I enjoy car rides.
I can't stand plane rides.
Really? What? Well,
The whole procedure, getting in line, it just I cannot stand plane rides.
I like being in the air.
I'm not a fan. Maybe that's a discussion for another day.
It is. But I think, ultimately, while we're on this road trip, while we're doing this thing called life, we're doing this thing called church, we're doing this thing called Christianity, let's be content. Let's enjoy one another's company, because guess what? The road trip's going to end.
I love it.
And we're going to look back and be like,
I love it.
That was a good trip.
That was a good trip. I love it. I'm glad to be on the journey with this trip with this church.
Amen.
And with you.
Amen.
All right.